Hey, everybody, my name is Daniel Mosqueda. Welcome to another Mortgage Fundamentals podcast episode. Today's episode is a very special episode and really close and dear to myself because it is about unions, and we are here to educate you guys on what you guys need to do and be prepared to purchase a home in the future. I have two very special guests with me today. One of them is Julie Nagai, who's both a real estate agent and still an active union member here in Las Vegas, and Payton Frei, who's also the same thing, but I think she's also changed her career a little bit in the union.
Yes.
How you doing, Payton?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been doing real estate for almost 2 years now. At the end of August will be my second year. I kind of started getting into the real estate side of things in 2020 when the pandemic hit. I started getting a little stir crazy. So I started switching gears. Went back to the union. I was doing rigging. So I operated the boom lifts and hung the signs for the conventions. And then my real estate business started booming. It was starting to get a little overwhelming working the 12s and the 16s. So then I kind of switched gears and I work at the Teamsters Training Center now. So I teach the new apprentices coming in on how to operate the equipment and, how to set up conventions and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and so you guys know what we did in our Teamsters Union. We do Teamsters Local 631 here in Las Vegas, so we work in the convention industry. So that's why she was doing some rigging. But that's really cool. So if you guys do come to this union, you might actually see Payton because she'll be probably training you.
Yeah.
And how about you, Julie?
Okay, so I started real estate in 2020. I'm going on almost 5 years now, and I have been a union member with the Teamsters since 2006. I typically work in the we changed our name. It's not MIS anymore. It's MDS, which is basically the modular building systems. And I was a foreman for many years and took a step back when the pandemic hit and I started selling houses. So yeah, that's basically my background, and I love helping union members get into homes, and I always answer any questions you guys have. If you can come to me or to Payton, we would love to see Teamsters get into homes.
Absolutely. So not to get confused with MBS. I know with MBS at Freeman or what we did for Teamsters is almost similar to something you would think about when you're thinking about mortgages, which is mortgage-backed securities. It's a completely different thing. They're just setting up some regular, not stick builds, but pre-made material or equipment that we have to make things easier when it comes to building booths. But I will say this. So with Julie started in 2020. I started doing this around 2020 as well. But I seen Julie starting to do it, and then I kind of wanted to follow those footsteps. I was like, oh, maybe I should give this a try. I did not want to do real estate. Found that out really quick. And then I stepped over to the mortgage industry because it was a little bit more in line with something I used to do. I used to do banking before for 7 years. Okay. So I was a banking manager. I used to do operations management. I used to do sales in banking. So it was kind of a little bit easier for me.
He's amazing. He's a numbers guy.
Yeah, I try my best. They're going to keep buttering me up over here. Oh, yeah. But that said, so today's episode is like what we said earlier. It's near and dear to my heart. I know it's near and dear to them because we all have been a part of the union for quite some time. I know I started in 2013. When did you start, Julie?
2006.
When did you start?
Oh my gosh. I think it was 2018 I started.
2018? So you can see like we all started a little bit in different times when we got into the union and still kind of took a different path, but still kind of stay active in doing that. But we just want to make sure that we are educating our union members in terms of what we can do and help them to get into homes. We want to make sure that they understand the process. We want them to understand what not to do and what you can do before you get into purchasing a home. And then just show you how working with us will probably be a bit easier, especially you don't have to work for Teamsters only, but just any union member would be easier to work with us because we have a better understanding of everything, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And then the other thing is scheduling. You guys don't have to necessarily explain too much to us either, right? So let's start off with the first and foremost. Why do you feel like you like helping a lot of the union members out here, Payton? Or what do you think you could set up in terms of what are some of your benefits for them working with you?
So one, I understand the schedule. Just their schedule is all over the place. They don't know when they're getting off. So they'll hit me up, about 6 p.m. Hey, I really want to see this house, but I work the next week or so. Can we please go? And I'm usually really flexible with those people because I understand. I understand their pay and how it goes. Sometimes they're making tons of money and sometimes they're, making the minimum amount because it's a feast or famine industry. And just honestly, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Okay.
That's fine.
So I've also been a first-time home buyer, and I bought my first house with the union. That's how I saved all my money. And it's kind of sentimental to me, just helping, especially the first-time home buyers out there, just watching them start. Sometimes they don't even have cars when they join the union, and just watching them grow and, you know, going into these stepping stones and building that wealth and that generational wealth and all that exciting stuff. That has to be one of the coolest parts, especially because I can connect to them through that union and the love of it.
Yeah. I think some of the things you touched on there are like, one of the clients we're working with right now is we understand their schedule. It isn't even just understanding their schedule. We had to kind of work with this client when they had a layoff, because like you said, it's feast or famine. Sometimes you're working for long periods of time. Sometimes you're not working for a few weeks or a few months. And sometimes that could be really tricky when it comes to the mortgage side, right?
Yep.
So we're kind of we have to be working when we're closing a loan. And that's really important. And us being able to help that client recently was both of us working together, both of us understanding what's kind of going on and being able to time everything properly. Yes. And I think it also helped the fact that we were able to call the other agent and make him feel comfortable.
Yes.
Because the other agent was always calling me on a regular basis. He was always happy to talk to me, and we were able to keep up with him and keep him up to date with some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So
a lot of it too, is connections with foremen and stuff out there, because if they're newer journeymen, sometimes they haven't worked all the fields and don't know all the companies out there, and just kind of setting them in place with who they can connect with to get work and make that happen within that month-long escrow.
Yeah. I think one of the things is we have a lot of connections, because when we used to work at the union, I know I speak for myself, I know Julie for sure, and I know Payton for sure. We made a lot of connections out in our specific union. So we have a lot of contacts who can help out people, or we can connect them with in order to get them more work. Right. And I know you specifically have a bunch, especially since you've been in the union for so long.
Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of, you know, the loan, sometimes the underwriting is requiring this letter and that letter. And you've got to, you got to know the right people in the union that can go ahead and come forward and write those letters for you. Because I know when I was a first-time home buyer, I bought my first home when I was 23 years old. So
5 years ago.
A long time ago. And I'm on my fourth home now, and it's, the process of going through the loan before I was in the union versus, I bought 2 houses since I've been in the union, completely different. Too bad I didn't have Daniel in
right.
my
I know.
Right? Because,
I know.
The underwriting is like, what do you mean you have this many pay stubs?
Yeah.
It's like, what are you, like,
how many times did you get fired?
Yeah. What do you mean you got laid off?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of hard for anybody to understand, and even harder to explain it.
Yeah.
When they don't know anything about the union.
Yeah.
And how it works. So,
yeah.
So that's the good thing about having Daniel as your loan officer, because he knows exactly what you're doing and what you're talking about.
Yeah. Usually when you have that many jobs, especially if you're an apprentice or you're one of those union members that have to go from company to company, it looks really bad on a loan application. Yes. Especially FHA is like, what are you doing? Or what, like you said, why are you getting fired so often? Why are you quitting so often? It just shows instability normally. But having an understanding of what that means or why you guys are doing that makes it a little bit easier for me to explain it over to our processors. And I'll tell you guys this. So I have a new LOA in our office right now, and I've had to deal with a couple of the clients you guys have sent me where I'm using all of their pay stubs, and they're like, why do they have 10 different companies? I was like, that's how it works. Right. And I have to sit there and go over it with, and like now she understands what it is. And so every time she sees a union one, recently she's seen another union member who only had one job, and she's like, where are the rest of them? And
she's like, this isn't normal.
And I was like, no, this is also normal. So like I said, it's having an understanding and insight on the industry.
Absolutely.
So for me, I know Payton mentioned it. I used the union to get into my first home.
Yep.
Right. And to me, that's one of the reasons I moved out here to Vegas from California. And I think,
by the way, this is a beautiful home, Daniel.
Oh, thank you. This is not my first one.
I gotta start ding dong ditching
Oh
them now.
my
I know
God.
where he lives.
They can be my neighbors. They're selling a few houses down the street if they want. But I used it to, this is not my first home, but I used it to get into my first home because, when you're working regular jobs, and this is not me saying too much about other jobs not making enough money, but union jobs, especially out here in Las Vegas, because there's so many different unions and this town was built on unions. There's so many different opportunities for people to get into them and make really good money and not have to worry about always having to argue with your employer to give you a raise or to tell you that you're going to need to do this to get to here. You know what I mean? Because when it comes to a union, I feel like it's either you're there for a certain period of time and you start getting these positions because some unions work like that, ABC list ones, versus a union like ours where it really is on your work ethic and your ability to socialize and get to know connections, right? So what do you guys think is one of the things that kind of, I know this is a little bit off topic, what do you guys think is one of the things most union members have a hard time dealing with when it comes to starting the process?
Starting the buying process?
Home buying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, first of all, I would have to say that when people get into the union and start making quite a bit of money, they often buy quite a few toys.
Toys. Toys is the word for it in the union.
If they're not used to that kind of an income, then all of a sudden they're frivolously buying this and buying that. And really their focus should probably be buying property, which could be the best investment for their future no matter what. But that does hinder a lot of, even union members that have been in 5 to 10 years and still haven't bought a property. It's kind of where their focus is kind of in the wrong place.
Priority.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things is even though you're making more money and you say you make $100,000 a year, right? If you aren't smart about where you put your money up first, because when you're doing a home loan, you got to know we're using debt to income ratio. So we're taking all your debts versus your income. And just because you made $100,000 this year doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to use that as your income. Because what if you made only $40,000 the last year? I got to really weigh out, is this going to be consistent? So you can't say, oh, I made $100,000 this year, yada, yada, that's my income. It doesn't work that way with mortgages. So you have to be really mindful when it comes to your finances and pushing it to the limit. And I know at the courses, don't they still teach that in the Teamsters Union?
Budgeting and all of that good stuff? Yes. Yeah. So me and Keith actually teach that. And that's one of the things you mainly see them struggling with is the budgeting, especially with how weird the hours are and how we make so much money January, February, March, and then it starts kind of dwindling down, especially in the summer. I know a lot of people who do pay their bills forward. So like in January, when they're making all that money, they'll pay their bills for the next couple months and then they just keep saving up. I know like when I was first trying to buy my home, I still lived with my parents. Luckily, my dad kind of set me on that path of don't rent, just stay here. We won't charge you rent and just stack up your money. Don't buy new cars. Don't go in credit card debt. And so I just save up as much money as I could every year. And that was how I got into my first home.
That's good.
But not everybody, has that luxury of living with their parents. So it's more of just figuring out a budget and how to save up money without being so hard on yourself. Because I feel like a lot of people feel like they need to save up this crazy amount of money and then they're too hard on themselves. And then it just is this loophole,
Yeah, I think people still think, and I think I spoke about this with the Nevada Rural Housing Division. One of the guys was here recently for a podcast. And it's weird, even for Teamsters, because they have us, but we go up there and talk to them all the time about purchasing a home. But a lot of people still have that misconception about 20% down.
They always think they have to have 20% down. So it feels like something that's unreachable.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's a lot of programs. Obviously, there's a lot of programs. Daniel's mad because I'm not speaking into the mic.
Yeah, guys, I'm trying to.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm trying to get Julie to get more comfortable with this mic situation, but we'll learn by the end of it.
Karaoke all day long. But
Oh yeah.
This is a little different.
Budgeting. So it's really important to be really mindful about your expenses. What are some other things that we think we can kind of help the union members kind of have a better understanding about today, especially today's market? Because when you were talking about earlier, you were talking about 2020 was one of those situations where everybody was buying a house. People were just coming left and right, purchasing it for whatever price, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden we went into a completely opposite market where interest rates peaked, home prices were high, and a lot of the Teamsters I spoke with are like, that's ridiculous in terms of home prices. I only want to pay like $1,500 for something. And I'm like, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, bro, it's wild. It's not going to happen. So
the market's changed a lot, you know. The market has changed a lot. And ever since we got down to that 3% interest rate, which was definitely a pandemic fluke, right?
Mm-hmm.
People think that was normal time, and the market changes. And,
Yeah.
you know, right now we're looking at a market that's got very low inventory.
Yeah.
You know, that affects everything.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to sell. Too many buyers for the properties that are for sale.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and typically right now, I mean, 50 something percent, 52% of the homes are selling within 30 days.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or 70%.
With multiple
70%
offers.
of the homes.
Yeah. With
multiple offers. I mean, there's just, and the interest rates today, they're not horrible. Like people just, sorry, I'm not talking to Mike.
You can carry that with you.
Anyways, now I'm off track.
But yeah, no. So I think I was on Facebook or something earlier, and I seen Payton post a story when you were doing like a get ready with me situation. He had mentioned something similar. You're like, people are starting to place multiple offers on homes again.
Yeah.
Yes.
I swear every house has multiple offers.
Yeah.
And they're going off the market so quick. And
yeah.
Well, we only have 2 months worth of inventory. There's only like 7,200 houses for sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
And the interest rates took a dip this week. So, and I truly believe, you know, everybody's waiting for the interest rates to go down. So once they really start going down, everybody's going to start flooding in for these homes. And it's going to create even more of a multiple offer situation.
Right. I mean, people don't believe any of us. Like a year ago or 2 years ago, oh, it's going to crash. It's going to crash. We're waiting for the crash. Well, the prices are up 5%.
I do have
from last year.
On that.
So,
yeah,
well, they're just going up. The prices. I mean, with this type of market with low inventory, it drives the prices up. So the longer you wait, the higher you're going to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My husband and I just bought last year, and same thing. People were like, "Do not buy. It's gonna crash. Just rent." Like, and I'm like, no, I want to buy. Like, one, I'm a real estate agent. I'm going to buy a house.
Yeah.
And so we bought our house, and the same exact square footage, updates, everything in our neighborhood went for $40,000 more within a year.
Yeah.
Like, the prices are just climbing.
Yeah, I don't think people realize or keep thinking, oh, here's the thing. When they hear things on the news, like two things that is always misleading on the news is how one is the what is it, inflation numbers, right? People see that inflation reading numbers every year or every month are going down. They're not dropping. We're not in a deflationary period, right? We're in a period where we're still seeing inflation. We're just starting to see it at a slower pace. So people are like, well, they keep saying that inflation is down, so why are my prices up? It doesn't mean that, right? Same thing with houses. Like, they feel like, oh, it says houses have started to drop. They haven't dropped anywhere.
Yeah.
They did drop, I think, for a little bit in 2022.
There was a
little dip.
Dip.
Yeah. But since then, we're at record high home prices here in Las Vegas, or even Nevada, or any state.
And is like $420. That's for solds.
Yeah.
Solds?
So for $460 for listings.
So
that's your average home price right now in Clark County.
And that's a lot, guys. So when I was purchasing, well, I'm not going to say it's a lot, but it is a lot. So when I was purchasing my house in 2013, I bought my first house 1,800 square foot or 1,900 square foot for about $200,000 here in the northwest part of Las Vegas. That same property I've noticed is going for like $450, $475 now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. My rental properties like that. So I bought it for $210. I was 23 with the union. That was my first house. I had to completely gut it. It was disgusting. And we've renovated it. We added new floorings, all that good stuff. And the same house is going for $355, and it stayed on the market for 2 weeks. Like it's insane.
Yeah. So I think
So, I mean, really, what are we getting to? The longer you wait,
yeah.
I mean,
We're
not trying to pour out negative information here, but
what we're trying
to appreciating.
They're still appreciating. So the whole point was,
the good news is you buy, your house is going to appreciate.
Yeah.
You're going to have some equity.
Yep.
Exactly.
And you don't need to buy that dream home. You can work up to the dream home.
Yes, exactly.
You know, that's, people think they have to have
that. Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because
once you have equity, you can keep going.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. People think like their first house needs to be this immaculate house. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I get it. Like everybody wants a beautiful house, you know, but you've got to do the stepping stone part of it. Get where you can and use that money and utilize that investment.
I think.
Where else can you invest money that's going to grow that quickly?
Yep.
It's okay. I can get that. But I think the whole point of this, and the reason we're bringing all of these things up for you guys, is there's a lot of misconception out there, right? There's the home prices, people's misconception or misthinking about home, what the payment's going to look like. If you talk to a union member that's been there for like 5 or 10 years, especially if they lived in this city or any city, they're going to tell you things that are really outdated.
Yep.
And I had somebody recently tell me, dude, you're acting like a salesperson. I'm not acting like a salesperson, bro.
Being honest.
If anything the union has taught me is to be brutally honest.
Yes. Without shame.
Yeah. Very transparent, very forward. And I'm not going to lie to you. There's no need for me to lie to you. The only thing I'll tell you is like, hey, this can happen and this can happen, right? This is going to be your choice. Can home prices go up? Absolutely. Can home prices drop? Absolutely, they can't drop. It really depends on what happens in the future with the market, but everything is telling you that it's not. Right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, there's no sign of a housing crash. We can't keep repeating 2007 because that was the only time there was ever a recession based on housing.
2008.
Is it 2008? Close enough.
Same year.
7 led into it.
Yeah.
But the whole point is like, just don't listen to what everybody else is saying, because it's very easy. And I loved the union. Like I said, it was a great place where I was able to meet a lot of different people and, you know, make a lot of connections in a way, right? But you don't get caught up in what everybody else is saying, and don't to get that like sheep mentality because someone said don't do it, you shouldn't do it kind of situation. So be very, I don't know, just separate yourself from everybody else and just do your own research, I guess.
Well, I'd say get good information from valid people, you know, like any.
Yeah, somebody needs that's educated.
Yeah, you know? Like us three.
Educated.
Not your grandpa who bought in 1973.
Yeah.
You know? We're actively working in the market.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of people want to buy, but they're not ready to buy. But you should still be reaching out to Daniel so you know what you need to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of steps to get there. If your credit score is not there yet, you know, Daniel knows how to help you with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
and I know about all the programs that are available. One of the things about being in union too, guys, is like, it doesn't matter what union. Like I said, Las Vegas is built on unions. We have electricians union, we have the culinary union, we have this union, we have the truckers union, laborers union.
And Teamsters is spread all throughout. So you have like Republic Services, UPS is a big one. Yep.
Yeah. So there's any union, you're going to start making some pretty good money as long as you're a good worker and, you know, don't mess it up in any way. So there are going to be a lot of programs that you might not qualify for based on your income limits. So that's why you got to talk to me first so I can tell you, okay, if you're not going to be able to use this one, you can use this program, or you're going to have to save up a certain amount of money, and we can go over all of that beforehand. And it shouldn't be too hard as long as you're living at your home with your parents.
Yeah. I know I got spoiled, but I am so thankful for it.
Yeah.
Maybe you're living in a controlled rent and you're lucky because the rents are not getting any lower either. I mean, the rents are crazy right now.
Definitely not. So just think about these things when getting ready to purchase a home. And you can have been in the union forever, and don't take any shame in not purchasing a home now. Not yet, I meant, but at some point, you know, just talk to somebody, get your mindset ready and straight to what you want to do. Set up goals, you know what I mean? Because I've also talked to a couple of people in our department. When I go out there, sometimes I go back for my 500 hours just to try to get my,
you know, working towards the pension.
Working towards my pension. I still want to keep that. You know, that's one of the great things about a union, to be honest with you. I talked to a few people out there, and one of them was really adamant about purchasing a home. I think one of our team members was also like telling him, hey, you got to do this, man. You got to do this. And I think, you know who I'm talking about, but he was just like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And all of a sudden 2 weeks later, this guy bought like a big truck or something. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You were supposed to call me so we can get these. Like, oh man, I really wanted this and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, you say you have these priorities, but honestly, you're working against yourself.
So we can only help you if you really want help.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're serious and you really want to invest in a property, then there's steps you got to take.
Yeah. And I mean, like Daniel said, it doesn't have to be right now. Like if you're kind of just dipping your toes into it and you're like, I have to work on, these student loan debts or a couple debts where I need to get these down and work on my credit.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Daniel is the one to talk to, and he can kind of guide you on that.
Mm-hmm. And then whenever you guys say you guys want a $500,000 house for a $2,500 payment, then I send you over to them and then be like, show them.
Yeah. Makes me sweat a little bit.
Yeah. But that said, guys, like jokes aside, I think I think working with us, I've already worked with Julie with one of our clients who he thought he couldn't get into a home. You know what I mean? We were able to work with his budget and everything. And since then was really, really grateful. I think probably every time I see him, that guy's like, that guy helped me get into a home. That guy is amazing. And I'm like, thanks.
Well, he didn't know that the process was going to be so easy. It's like all of a sudden we were in escrow and then we were closing. He's like, oh my God, he never thought that it would just be like, boom, boom, boom. We're done. Now here's your keys.
Yeah.
Yep.
The same with the client we had recently, and those guys,
they were the best.
Yeah, really sweet couple. Already knew what the process was. I think what makes it better for us is like when we work with clients, especially if they're Teamsters and they know us, how grateful they can really be.
Yeah,
in a sense, right? And just showing them that it doesn't have to be a headache. Because I think I've worked with Teamsters or heard of Teamsters saying that the previous time they tried to get into a home, like you said, it was just a pain in the butt.
Oh man, the hoops I had to jump. I mean, it was crazy, but it's changed over time.
Yeah, and I think even
they want your firstborn. Basically. And I didn't even have any kids yet.
They do. We do. We will want blood and everything.
Definitely, you make the process easy, Dan.
Thank you. I try my best.
Yeah, you're on it. You're on it.
I just try to make sure that these guys get everything done because I already know how hard it can be to.
Well, what I like about Daniel too is he is so great at communicating. You always know what's going on with him or what's going on in the process. Like he'll give you a call right when he has new information, and I'm like, thank God.
Yeah.
Like.
He's looking out for you.
Yeah, because we only have so much time to work with certain clients, right? And some of our clients, we already know if they're once they get busy, it's hard to get anything from them.
Yeah.
So if we're both working on getting it from them, because hey, sometimes I'll make a trip to the warehouse or to the show site if I have to. You know what I mean? Because you can get in there if you had to.
Yeah.
And I think we have a better way of like advising them to kind of make them understand like why we're doing certain things, where we are in the process, what's next.
Well, and I feel like us three are a prime example of like what you can do with the union.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And how you can utilize it to, get what you would like out of life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So just take it seriously, guys. And I think purchasing a home is going to be I think in my opinion, should be one of the first things you guys do if you guys ever did join a union. Mm-hmm. If you're already in a union, again, like I mentioned earlier, don't feel bad that you haven't purchased a home or just say have any setbacks, because I think one of the biggest setbacks in general for people is they think they don't have good enough credit. They think they need 20% or don't have the money for it. And they're just scared to make that first step.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So don't feel shy. I do this every day. I see all sorts of credit all the time. I see all sorts of income. So for me, I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm just here to get you to where you need to be and try to be as honest as I can about how long that process might take, what you really need to do in order to get there. And that's essentially it for me. What do you guys think? You guys have any closers?
I'm sure I do.
Not closings, Payton. Any closers?
No.
No? All right. How about you?
I mean, you said it all, Daniel.
He did.
Did I? Thank you guys. I tried my best.
We're here to show you guys houses, and he's here to get you qualified.
Yes.
And
Show me the money.
Yes.
And
So-
even though we compete against each other, it's friendly.
Yes.
Yeah,
always.
yeah.
Always. Yeah.
Go
Look.
with Payton, I'm good. I'm happy
Yep.
for her.
See, we got 2 of them here, and they're not fighting yet.
Well, and you can't be mad. Like, if they go with Julie, I'm like, well, at least I know they're going to someone safe. It's
Yeah.
always kind of offensive when they go to someone really sketchy. And you're like, oh my gosh, don't do
Oh, when they go to another lender.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, guys, come on.
That's not a team store. Are you serious?
Yeah, we're a union. We're supposed to
Yeah.
stick together, But in all honesty, guys, like I said, it's just get ready. If you guys want to give us a call, feel free to. So I'm going to go ahead and leave both of their information below. I'll leave a link to their social media. Actually, where can they find you, Payton?
Instagram's the easiest.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to
Yeah.
say my handle? So it's just Payton, Payton, Frei, Frei.
Perfect. And that's Instagram?
Yeah.
How about you, Julie?
Everywhere.
Everywhere?
Facebook, Instagram. At Jules in the Desert.
Jules in the Desert. Can you spell that out?
@_ JEWELS in the desert.
Perfect.
All one word. I don't know. You can find I got the Realty Executives Facebook page, Julie Nagai, Realty Executives.
Perfect. And then for me, you guys know where you guys can find me. You guys can find me on Instagram. You guys can find me on TikTok. I'll leave the links below. But if you guys have found this information very helpful, please follow, like, and share this with anybody who may need to hear this or anybody you feel should be looking into purchasing a home anytime soon. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you guys very much.